you to episode 17 of the Marketing That Grows Your Business show. We have another wonderful and very special guest today. We're going to talk about how can you actually generate real leads organically on Instagram. You know, Instagram is like the platform these days. Everybody's wanting to up-level their game, their business game on Instagram, but sometimes they're not quite sure how. So if that's you, you are in the right place because we have a wonderful guest with us today. I'm going to introduce her to you in just a few moments. But if you're brand new, if you've never been on my show before, let me introduce myself. My name is Kim Garst. I'm an online marketing strategist, and I love helping people grow their business, grow their bottom line, specifically leveraging the power of digital and social media. And again, if you're brand new, if you've never been with me before, just type new into the comment area because I'd love to say hey specifically to you. And for all the oldies but goodies that tune in all the time, we have Edward. Hey, Edward. I know Edward has been, I think, Edward, you may be with almost every time I go live. Appreciate you so much. And then we have Mary Beth. I'm excited to learn more. I feel very untrained on Instagram. Good, Mary. You are, Mary Beth, you are in the right place. And as you guys are coming in, just give me a shout out. Where in the world are you today? I have been in Virginia visiting my 95-year-old dad for about 2 weeks. It'll be 2 weeks tomorrow since I arrived. And it has been rainy and cold, and I think it's impacted my disposition a little bit because I've been a little like funky. Like it's messing with me. Hey, Paul. Laurel, Maryland, sunny and 70 degrees. Yeah, I think it's probably about maybe in the 60s. I think in the 60s here in Virginia. Sam, hey Sam, good to see you. And it's just been like a little bit dreary around here. Hey, Esther, I hope I'm saying that correctly. I'm glad you're here. Great to meet you, meet you, as I say. And then we have Crystal. Hey, Crystal, glad you're here. New folks. I love meeting new folks. Okay. So guys, one of the things that we do on every show is giveaways. Yes, we do. We give away things like, you know, a ring light for your phone. That's one of our prizes. We do another, like it's a little cover. Here you go, a webcam cover for those of you who have laptops, perhaps. You know, there's all this talk right now about like people spying on us through our webcams. So this covers that up and you don't have to use a yellow sticky pad, okay? The ring light, and I'm going to give away one of our special guest today, has a book on, yes, Instagram. We're going to be giving away one copy of that today. And last but certainly not least, this show is sponsored by Easil.com, and we are giving away 3 months of kind of like a trial. Go check it out, play with it for 3 whole months to 3 lucky people. If you guys have never used Easil.com, it is a graphic design tool, so you can create anything that you would create, like your social media images, you know, PowerPoint presentations, whatever that you would normally create. You can do that very quickly and easily with this tool called Easil.com. It's a drag and drop tool. But honestly, what's so amazing about it is they have some incredible pre-designed templates. So if you need a great like post for social media, all you do is sign up for an account, go log in, and I bet you that you will find an amazing social media image that is already pre-designed, and you can just download it and upload it to your social media. They've got some incredible designs. So check them out, Easil.com. Okay, so, and the way you win, how do you win these prizes, right? If you find yourself saying, oh, wow, I didn't know that, like, aha, I wished I had known that before, or my gosh, I'm so glad I learned that. If you have aha moments, just drop them into that area, like down there. That's how we pick the winners, guys. So if you can just drop in your aha moments, make sure you don't forget that, because that's how you win. So drop those comments in, and that would, or your aha moments in down under, and that's how we'll pick some awesome winners today. Okay, so let me share with you guys who our amazing guest is. So our amazing guest today is Jenn Herman. Jenn is not only is she a Instagram expert, but actually she's been around the block a lot. I remember when she used to do Pinterest. She's a prolific blogger. And, the way she would describe herself, though, is she's, again, multifaceted. She's a social media consultant, speaker. She's a globally recognized Instagram expert. Again, she's been blogging about Instagram on her blog, Jenn's Trends. She's won has won the title of a top 10 social media blog over multiple years. She's highly sought after and an international speaker, providing tips, resources, and training for businesses of all shapes and sizes, basically around strategy. She's a very big on strategy. She's my kind of person, because I'm also about the strategy end or the business end of it. Why do it if it doesn't generate a business end, right? Her background, though, includes administration, sales, human resources, and marketing. And she basically mashes all those things into her experiences that she shares with the world. She's been featured in Inc. magazine, Fox News, BBC, Yahoo, all kinds of really interesting and fabulous places. But here's the kicker, y'all. She is the author of Instagram for Dummies, Instagram for Business for Dummies, and Stop Guessing, your step-by-step guide to creating a social media strategy. So yeah, she's amazing. Now, let me tell you something that she doesn't say here in her bio. She also has a full-time job and operates Jenn's Trends. And this is the real special, amazing thing I want you to know about her. She is also a single mom to an incredible little girl called Sabrina. And she's just cute as can be. She's trying to balance it all in life, but she does an amazing job. So welcome to Jenn. Hey, Jenn.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you today?
I'm good. Enjoying the extra day of the weekend, a little extra time to catch up on some projects, but doing good.
Well, one thing I forgot to tell you guys about Jenn is most people also know her for a couple of other things. Like, she has fabulous nails. In fact, she's been doing her own nails. Look at that. Right? Is that not amazing? And she also has fabulous shoes. I mean, to die for shoes. She, although I was going to just ask her to share her shoes with us, but since we're all staying at home and dressing for success from the waist up, well, she doesn't have on shoes today, but normally she has on fabulous shoes. Every time I've seen her, I'm like, girl, where'd you get those shoes? I'm a big shoe fan too, but she's definitely known for her nails and her shoes. Okay. So since we're here to talk about Instagram, guys, if you have questions as we go, feel free to pop them in. But I thought I would start, Jenn, with I think a lot of times people think that Instagram is just this visual mecca, right? Where you just pop in a bunch of visual stuff, but and maybe if you have a physical product, you can sell it. But when it comes to lead gen, I think lots of times people are like, what? Instagram for lead gen? So is it even possible to get leads from Instagram for free?
Yeah. And yeah, absolutely. And it's always funny because I've had people over the years, when I tell them I'm an Instagram strategist and I teach Instagram marketing, and their response is usually along the lines of, how hard is it to upload a photo? And I'm like, oh, if it was that easy, I wouldn't have a job. So there is a lot more to it than simply, uploading the photo for the sake of it. And yes, you can absolutely drive leads. I actually love working with B2B customers, and a lot of my clientele are more in the B2B space versus the B2C, because traditionally we do think B2C, yeah, you have a product, you post a pretty picture of it, you throw some hashtags on it, and you'll start selling product. And I mean, even then, I wish that was that easy. But when it comes to the B2B side of it, lead generation, people still want those services. People still want what you have to offer, and they're hanging out on Instagram. You just have to be able to craft the content in a way that actually, gives them the value and information they want, and then we'll use a series of tactics to get them to the link in your bio, which is now where you can start working to generate and capture those leads.
Which leads me to the big thing, and I think you just set the stage very appropriately for it. Is our bios on all social platforms are so important, but I think they're like 10x on Instagram, right? Because for a lot of people who don't have 10,000 followers or whatever, that hub, which is our profile, is so important. So can we dive into the bio piece of it a little bit and stress how important it is? Everybody talks about optimizing your bio, right? So what does that mean though? When it comes to optimizing your bio on Instagram, in your opinion, what does that mean?
Yeah. So first of all, you have to have a bio. Especially as a brand, there's nothing worse than logging in and looking at somebody's Instagram account and it literally has their name and that's it. I'm like, you've just told me nothing. I can't do anything with this. I don't know who you are. I have no context for what you're doing or how, you're going to help me, any of that sort of stuff. So you absolutely have to have a bio. The key is what you put in that bio. Now, you have 150 characters. That's it. It's not a lot of space. So you can't go crazy and write something super complex. But in that bio, you want to cover three things. You want to first, who are you? Two, what do you do? And three, what's in it for them? And when I say what's in it for them, you have to understand that most people on Instagram will come and look at your profile the first time they come to, find you, find your content, go follow you, go send you a message, whatever it is. The first time is that first impression. That's your 30-second elevator pitch. That's your chance to convince them that you're worth the follow, the message, whatever it is. Once they're already following you, they may come back to your profile to click on that link and take other actions, but they're never going to really read your bio again after that first visit. So we want to craft that in a way that is appealing to first-time visitors, not necessarily your long-standing customers, not people who may have known you for years. And so we really want to make this short, sweet, and valuable as that first-time visitor. So really quickly, who you are. What are you as a brand? What's your personality, your style? What do you stand for? And what do you do? What is it that you actually do as a business? Who do you serve? That sort of thing. And then the what's in it for them. Why should they follow you? Do you share tips and advice? Are you doing a free giveaway? Are you offering a discount? Can they get great resources if they go to the link in the bio? What is it that's going to give them motivation to want to be a part of what you're sharing? And you have to do all of that in 150 characters. It's not super easy. And I actually recommend, you take a lot of time to figure out what this looks like. Don't just write something up and slap it up there for the sake of argument. Ask friends, ask colleagues, ask coworkers, ask family, ask people who know your brand to tell you what they think of your brand. And then start to compile that. And if you're not really good at copywriting or writing things yourself, ask some other people to write the bio for you. And then you can maybe take bits and pieces of that and compile a whole complete bio that will really showcase what you do, not just from your perspective, but from other people's perspectives. And then don't forget to make it Instagrammy. So use emojis in there for bullet points. Don't write just one big long run-on paragraph. Put some emojis in there. Make it fun. Don't do super corporate-y speak. I don't care, how B2B, legalese you want to be. Let's make it fun. It's still Instagram. So have, the short and sweet bullet points, add some personality, some flair that's still on brand and relative to your brand voice that people will recognize so that they feel welcome when they get there.
Yeah, I love that. And since you brought that up, I think the fact that Instagram is definitely a visual platform, and I think that follows into our bios. They need to be visual as well. So really pulling out emojis and stuff. Let's pop up your bio just so people can see what it actually looks like. So here's Jenn's bio. and or in her profile area, and you'll notice that she has, some emojis in there. So Jenn, let's talk about a couple of things I think a lot of people might not know. You talked about not just having a run-on paragraph, right? But what if, how do you not do that? How do you actually put in line breaks? Because I think a lot of people don't know that piece. So can you share what that looks like for people who might not know how to do it?
Yeah, and this is super tricky that, like I said, a lot of people don't realize. And it's a weird back end coding thing on Instagram that you would think one day they would fix this problem, but whatever reason they haven't. And the key is you cannot have a space at the end of a line, and you can't have an emoji at the end of the line. So when you end your paragraph, or in the bio, the end of that line, that single bullet point, you want to make sure you backspace to the very last character. If you've got a space after it and then you hit return, that return disappears. So backspace to that very last character. And then additionally, like I said, don't put an emoji as the last character. For some reason, you can have an emoji as the first character, and that's okay. You just can't have it as the last character. So don't end with emojis, and just backspace all the way up and then hit return, put in your next line. Same thing, backspace, hit the return, and then you can get all that formatting in there as bullet points.
Yeah. So when it comes to how people can find us on Instagram, there's only one component, right, on Instagram where it's searchable when people type it in. So popping back up Jenn's bio here, I really want to key in on this because I think a lot of people don't know this either. That area where she has her name, where you see Jenn Herman and the little phone area, and then she's got Instagram expert. That part right there is searchable when somebody is, again, searching on Instagram for, let's say, an Instagram expert. If she didn't have that there, then more than likely people would not be able to find her. Is that what I'm understanding? Is that correct, Jenn?
Yeah. So, and why, again, Instagram is amazing in so many ways. Their search parameters, not so great. And so when you go to search something on Instagram and you put in a word, it is looking at your name and your username. That's it. It's not reading anything in your bio. So it doesn't matter how many keywords you think you just dumped in your bio. It's irrelevant to the search functionality. It's only going to look at the name and the username. So like you were pointing out, in this case, I have Jenns_trends is my username. So if someone's looking for my brand name, they'll find me. My name, Jenn Herman, is in the name field. So if they're looking for my name, they'll find me. And I put Instagram expert in there. So if someone's looking for an Instagram expert, I'm going to show up in search. Sometimes I change that and I'll put, speaker or blogger or other things. But whatever it is, that's what I will be searchable for. So let's say you're a photographer. You want to make sure photographer is somewhere in the name or the username. If you are, a business that does coaching, you want to have something that's in there with, coaching, what type of coaching you offer, those sorts of things. And realize that the name and the username obviously don't have to be the same thing. So if your username is your brand name, you don't need to put the brand name in the name field. Use that for those keywords or the searchability that you want to be found for. You don't have to mimic them. That way you get more opportunity to find those searchable keywords.
Yeah. And I think that's a really important point because, we're talking a lot about optimizing the bio and you're like, well, how does this generate leads? But this is the first step of it. You have to have these components in place so that you can actually generate leads. I want to pop, Jenn, I know we keep popping it back up, but I want to ask one more question as it relates to your bio. Actually, two questions, but the one where it says blogger, where it's highlighted, what is that a new feature and how do you get that? And what does that mean?
Yeah, so where that blue, is set up right beneath the name where it says Jenn Herman Instagram, actually in blue, it has blogger and then it has the bio. So that is as either a business profile or as a creator profile, you have the option to choose a category. So in this case, I'm a business profile. And when you set up a business profile, you choose a category. So you can choose whatever, there's a list of how many, 40 or 50 categories. and you can go through, and for this purpose, I chose blogger. I could have put, public figure, or, I think there's one for consulting or something like that as well. So there's different things that you can put in there that you can choose as your category. It doesn't really do anything in particular aside from give your audience a little bit more insight into who you are, what you do, what your business is about. So again, if you were a photographer, you could put photographer as that category. But again, that doesn't make you any more searchable or anything like that. It's just a little bit more transparency for somebody who's coming to your profile to know who you are and what you do.
Yeah, awesome. I was curious about that because when I clicked on it, of course, it brings up everybody that's got that category in their bios as well. So it kind of is, it's like an aggregator of bloggers, I suppose, or people who are using that particular category in their bio area. Okay, so let's get to the nitty gritty. Like obviously optimizing your profile, your bio area is so important, but that darn link, that one place in your bio where you can actually drive traffic, how important is that? And let me, obviously it's important because we're driving traffic, but I guess my question to you is, would you recommend using like just one link and you change it out periodically? Like if you're advertising a webinar or a website or your blog or whatever, or do you have a more robust strategy?
Great feeder question. So yeah, here's the thing. That link is obviously super important. Whether you have 10,000 followers and you have the option for links and stories or not, that link is your kind of gold mine, right? That's where you're driving traffic. You're always going to have calls to action in your feed posts that are going to say something like, click on the link in the bio. And that's how you get traffic out of Instagram. And everyone wants Instagram to change this. I am the person who is over here like, no, don't change it. Leave it the way it is. I like it because it forces us on Instagram to be creative. It forces us as marketers to actually serve our visitors and our audience in order to get them to that link. It's not a link dropping platform like Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter where people just like drop links all the time and people just randomly click on them and you get a lot of junk traffic. On Instagram, you have to work to get people to click on that link. So once they've clicked on it, that is a high quality piece of traffic. And that's why I love Instagram for lead generation, because you may not get as much traffic from Instagram, but you get way better traffic from Instagram than any other platform because they have to work to get there. And when you get them on that link, your bounce rate is virtually zero. They have shown up there for a reason. They're on that page. They want to read that blog. They want to watch that video. They want to subscribe to that newsletter. They want to download that PDF. Whatever it is you're asking them to do, they genuinely want to be there, and it's a great way to generate those leads. But to Kim's point, how do we get them to use that link efficiently? Because it is only one link. And let's say in today's post, you're promoting a blog post. Last week, you were promoting a webinar. The week before that, you were promoting a giveaway. The week before that, you were promoting, something completely different. So if someone sees the post from today and it says, hey, click on the link in the bio to read the blog post, great. They click on the link, they're reading the blog post. But if they find last week's and they go to click on that, link in the bio to get to that information, well, now it's going to a blog post and they're all confused about where to go. So a number of years ago, a tool came out called Linktree, and this was the solution to the one link, where basically you use this third-party tool, and when you clicked on that one link in the bio, you navigated to Linktree, and it gave you basically a menu page where you could choose from multiple options. So you could have blogs, you could have newsletter, you could have videos, and you could have your giveaways, and you could have everything listed on there. People chose which one they wanted, and then boom, that was what page they ended up on. So that was a great solution in the general scheme of things of how we can use this link more effectively. The challenge with that was there was a lot of issues for a while with Linktree. Again, it's a third-party tool, so now that's an intermediary between your Instagram account and your website. Now there's somebody here, kind of in the middle. But on top of it, Linktree was getting shut down. Linktree was breaking down. People weren't getting their traffic and things like that. So what I actually recommend people do is create a Linktree on your own website. And if you go to my profile, JENNS_trends, and click on that link, you land on mine on my website. I'm not saying it's perfect or the best of all solutions, but you will see there are no pop-ups, there are no sidebar menus. There is nothing confusing or overwhelming on that page. There is, I think, about 5 images. There's one for my blog, one for my membership with 360 Marketing Squad. There's one for, hiring me as a speaker. There's, the types of things that I would typically promote. And that's it, is an image. And when they click on that image, it then takes them to that page on my website. So if they click on the blog image, it takes them to the blog page of my website. And the reason why this is advantageous over using something like Linktree is I own that traffic 100%. There's no third party in between Instagram and my website. So when they go from Instagram, they're already on my website. I now own that traffic. My Google Analytics can tell me where are they going, how long are they staying, what pages are they navigating to. If you're using Google Analytics in a very complicated way, and if you're setting up your conversions and your goals and everything, you can incorporate this whole path into that workflow to figure out how things are converting for you. But additionally, you can throw your Facebook pixel up on that page, or if it's on your website, and now that's traffic that you can retarget with your Facebook and Instagram ads, because you know that everybody that landed on that page came from Instagram. So you know that they've somehow seen you on Instagram, and this is a great way to kind of maximize that traffic down the road with some of your paid advertising. And again, you're not giving any of this to a third party. It's all yours. You can make it look however pretty you want. It can stay completely on brand because it's already on your website, and you have all the retargeting.
Yeah, I love that. So just in all transparency, I'm going to be doing this. Currently, I'm using
Yes.
I'm using Tailwind to create my smart bio thing. And so I was like, when I saw how you were doing yours, I'm like, it clicked immediately. I'm like, well, of course she's, now she owns her own traffic. Everything that Jenn just said, I'm like, yes, I totally understand that now. I get it. So definitely going to create my own little profile page on my site. So pixel it so I can redirect or retarget all of my Instagram traffic.
Yes.
So Catherine has a really great question. So do we have a personal account or a business account, or is maybe there even a place for both? What's your take, Jenn?
In general, I'm going to tell you to go with a business account. If you are using it 100% for personal reasons, keep it a personal account. But if you're using it in any way for your business or your brand, you want to be a business account. There are so many advantages to being a business account in terms of having, additional action buttons on your profile so people can call, message, text you, get directions, those sorts of things. You get insights that are going to show you how your posts are actually performing, get insight into your audience, who they are, all these sorts of things. And there's no negative impact by being a business profile. So you don't get reduced reach. You're not going to get hidden. They have never done this in all the years now that we've had business profiles on Instagram. Now, we all know that Facebook does this, right? And I know that's why a lot of people have a fear of moving to a business account on Instagram, because we all know that business pages on Facebook get punished. But they don't do that on Instagram. They have never done that. You may notice a slight decrease in reach and engagement immediately when you switch over to a business profile. And this is because Instagram likes to just do a little, kind of pump the brakes a little bit when you make a bulk action. So if you're doing a lot of editing, deleting, uploading, things like that, that's a bulk activity. And switching accounts can be considered a big activity, which sometimes Instagram will put a little bit of a flag almost on your account. But within 2 to 3 weeks, everything returns to normal. That being said, I've, as a testing ground, changed my account from business, creator, and personal so many times, and it's never impacted my reach or exposure on anything. So feel free to do that whenever you feel you're ready to move to it, but I recommend sooner than later if you're not already. The third option is the creator profile. This was meant and designed more for, let's call it the influencer space. So people who are creating the content. They're, the influencers, they're out here doing all these things. But right now, there's really no difference between a creator account and a business account, because everything they gave to creators, the businesses wanted, and they gave all those features to the business account. So there's not really a big difference between them. And right now, creator accounts are not set up with the API for third-party integration. So if you use a scheduling tool like Agorapulse or something like that, you can't use that on a creator profile. You can only use that on a business profile. So again, if you want to use a third-party tool, you'd have to be a business. You couldn't be a personal either.
Yeah, that's really great distinctions. I didn't realize that you learned something new myself, that you couldn't use a third party tool with a creator account.
Super
Interesting. Yeah. Can you create original emojis and use them instead of stock emojis? Good question. So,
Oh,
Betty, that's a great
that would
question.
That's a
Wouldn't that be
great
fun?
question, and I wish we could.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
far as I know, no. It's Instagram is really limited in terms of what you can do. If you had like a special emoji keyboard, you can, use that when you're writing up your captions or your bio. And if you had your own custom emojis built into an emoji keyboard that you have access to, then yes, in theory, you could use them. But of course, you always run the risk that other people aren't able to read those emojis, so they would just see the kind of like the little X in the box. So I don't really recommend doing those. Even with the external emoji keyboard, sometimes those cause issues with what people can read or see on different devices. But again, down the road, who knows, what Instagram will allow for more functionality and input. So that might be something that becomes more accessible down the road. But right now, it's not really something you can do.
Yeah, I was just going to say ditto to that, because even though we can see it and it looks great, doesn't mean that our viewers can see exactly what we see. So, different devices, different versions of a device. I mean, it could be a lot of different things.
Desktop versus mobile.
Yeah, yeah. So playing within the parameters of what is universally accepted would probably be what you would want to do within your bio area. So going back to that bio area real quick, like when you create this, if you use a third-party tool like Linktree or Tailwind has a feature, and there's a few others I think that do the smart bio concept where it creates the multiple touch points when somebody, that one link morphs into multiple links, right? So just from a case study, if you have any, or just your personal experience, what do you find works the best from a traffic perspective? Like, I know everybody's businesses are obviously different, but like what kinds of things would you put on that page, if you will? Like, your blog, or what would it look like, just to give people some ideas?
So the key is to have as few options as possible. We don't want to give them 17 options in a list. That it's like going into, no offense, when you go into like Cheesecake Factory and their menu has 40 pages and there's like 100 items on every page, and you're like, I don't even know what I want to eat now because there's just too much to choose from. Having that many items on your landing page, whether it's a Linktree or your own custom page on your website, that many options is too much. People get overwhelmed, and if they said, click on the link in the bio to read the blog, and now they have to read through 12 things before they find the blog option, chances are they're not going to scroll that far down, and they're going to back out, and you're going to lose that traffic. So we want to keep the options somewhere in about 3 to maybe 7 at most options. 5 is usually kind of a good consistent range. After 7, it starts getting a little too long on the page. There's too many, options, and it gets a little bit overwhelming. So you want to think about what your key points of traffic are for your website. Obviously, for me, blog is a huge one. I'm typically promoting whenever I have a new blog post. I also have, like I said, working with me. So people see something on Instagram, they see that I've been speaking at an event, they want to know how they can hire me and work with me. So I have that option on there. So, whatever your key, revenue generating options are, if you're a B2C type thing, you might have a couple different options for different product lines. Not every single product, but product lines. So you can kind of bundle them up, and you'd have, 2 or 3 of those options there. If you are in the B2B space and you have multiple services, again, group them into something where, like, if you have consulting and coaching and all these things, that may be one type of option. Then you may have something where you have resources and downloads and tutorials. That's a second option. So kind of put things into some buckets if that helps organize them, if you've got a lot of things to give people. But really think about where you want people to go when they land on your website and the things you are most typically promoting when you're on Instagram. So if you're typically promoting webinars, you want to have a button for webinars. If you're typically promoting, free PDF downloads, you want a button for that. If you're big on videos and not blogs, maybe you want to link to your YouTube channel. So whatever that is, you want to make sure that wherever you're typically asking people to go by clicking on the link in the bio, that's what we want to have as those primary options on that landing page.
Excellent advice. So, when it comes to, again, driving traffic, Suzanne has a question. So it says, question, able to merge two business accounts. So can you merge, and I would even broaden that question just a little bit. Can you merge a personal and maybe a business account if you wanted to? Or can you just change the account type? So great question, Suzanne.
Great question, and a common question, and we've all been there. But unfortunately, no. You cannot merge them. Facebook obviously has that functionality where you can merge accounts, and even that isn't super easy. Instagram does not have that functionality. So what I usually recommend people do is pick the one that you now want to be the permanent account going forward. Also realize that once a username has been assigned to an account, it's really hard to get that username onto another account. So if account A has the username you want, but account B is the one you want to use, there is no guarantee that you're going to get the username from A onto B, even if you own both of those accounts. So in theory, you could go into A, you would change the username on there, then you would log into B and change it to the username from A. In theory, but that's not usually how it works. Instagram, a number of years ago, put in a regulation that does not allow usernames to be reused because people were selling them and all these sorts of things. If you really, really desperately need to do this and it's for a bigger brand, you can try to contact Facebook support. Never go after Instagram support, by the way, because they are horrible. We go after Facebook support. And in which case you go to your Facebook person and you say, look, I really need to move this username to this account. And they can help you in that situation if it's really important. But even that's not really a guarantee that you'll get those kind of results. So if you really want the username on account A, you might want to keep account A, or use that username and add like a dot or an underscore. So like, for example, I have Jenn's _ trends. So you can find a way to take a version of what that original one was and just change it just a little bit with either a dot or an underscore to make it what you want for the new account. And then whichever account you decide to keep, you want to regularly announce to that audience that you've moved everything to the other account. So put up stories that say, hey, by the way, we will no longer be posting on this account. We're now going to be creating content at ABC. And then the link they can click on that is, now they can go to that account and follow there. Same thing with feed account or a feed post. You want to put content up there that says, we will no longer be posting here. Go follow us over on this other account. In your bio on the account you're no longer using, again, you can put in the @ and new account name because that becomes a clickable hyperlink that will take them to that account. So change up the bio completely and say, this is the former account for company ABC. We are now posting all new content at abc.d, whatever it is, and then they can click on that and go over there. So you're going to want to promote this over a period of time. Realize that you're never going to get all the audience from one account to the other account. That's okay. It's kind of a cleansing tool at that point because if they didn't come over and follow you with the new account, they probably didn't care that much in the first place, and they probably weren't seeing your content on the old account anyways. So you can kind of use this as a fresh start. But yeah, unfortunately, you can't actually merge them and combine the two.
Okay, great answer. Great question and great answer. And I really appreciate the question and the answer because lots of times we think we can do these things simply because in common sense would say, hey, let's just change our username over here. And then to Jenn's point, it's not always that simple. So understanding that when before you try to do it, rather than, messing it all up and then you end up with a username you can't use or Yes. So that's never a good thing. Okay, so going back to like leveraging your profile to again drive traffic. Let's dig in a little bit to action buttons and how do you get them and how do you use them?
Yeah. So typically on a normal business profile, you get the option for call, text, email, and directions. You have 4 buttons that you can choose from. And you can set all of them up or none of them up. It's entirely up to you. So the link in the bio, I want to always stress, this is the best for the lead gen, right? Like, so the link in the bio is going to get them to click on that blog post and subscribe to your newsletter. It's going to get them to download that in exchange for an email address, that sort of thing. The action buttons are not for lead gen. Those are for closing sales. That is where people are going to pick up the phone and call you and actually book a session with you. They're going to actually, get the questions answered to go ahead and begin the process of that purchase with you. Same thing with text messaging or email. If they click on the email button, it's going to generate an email in their primary email browser, and they're going to send you an email. You're not going to know that that email came from Instagram because it just opens their email, and with your email address populated, they put in whatever subject line they want, they put in whatever email they want, and they send it to you just like an ordinary email. So you don't know when you're reading that email that it came from Instagram. But again, this is a conversion. This is them voluntarily showing up in your inbox saying, hey, I have a question, or hey, can I hire you? And that's moving towards an immediate conversion. It's not really the lead generation side of it. So action buttons are incredibly powerful. We love them. Use them by all means, but just be aware that this is a slightly different level of interacting with your audience. These are great as well if you have a physical business, because you can put the directions button on there and people can, click on that. It opens the map and boom, they're getting directions to walk or drive directly to your physical location. So those are great. Additionally, if you want to, there are some third-party integration buttons that you can add. So you can add things like get tickets. So if you do virtual events right now, or live events when we're allowed to do those again, if you use something like Eventbrite to sell tickets, you can actually have a get tickets button on your profile that you'd set it up with your Eventbrite account. And when someone clicks on that button, you've told that button where to go for your Eventbrite, and they can actually buy tickets to your event right there. It just opens Eventbrite, they complete the purchase, boom, they're done, and they're back on your Instagram profile when the transaction is complete. So it makes it really easy to get those additional types of sales. Again, not so much for the lead generation, but for the sales. Other buttons they have are things like book now, order. You can actually order food. So if you're a restaurant or in the food service business, you can have an order food button. There's currently a gift card button as well that you can set up. Again, these all have to be set up through approved third-party tools. But you can, if you have digital gift cards, like if you use Stripe or any of those sorts of things, and you have gift card options available, you can set that up on there so people can buy gift cards, and then they can deliver those digitally, or they can save them for themselves, their team, those sorts of things. So there's lots of great little action buttons you can put on there to really push the sale and generate that revenue that much faster.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's, again, depending on what type of business you have. Going back to the action buttons, I think you could even be, creative. That's the word I'm looking for, with leveraging them if you were intentional with how you did it for lead gen. I know you said it was more of a conversion process, and I totally agree with you. But I think if you just were trying to start a conversation and you were intentional with how you drove content to that button, you could start conversations that might just be just that. Hey, have a it would. Again, you'd have to be creative with it, but you might think about it and how you could leverage them just a little bit. So, question, and Joy is asking, what about stories? Yeah, I'm definitely going to dig into stories in just a minute. Joy, if you'll hang with me just for a second. I don't want to jump too far off of that because the next question kind of touches on that. But obviously, we've spent a lot of time on the bio because for lead gen, you have to get them to you have to drive traffic somehow. So you have to get them to click on the links, right? Right. That's the starting point. So when it comes to actually getting people though to those links, like what type of content is going to get thumbs? I call it thumb stopping or content scroll stopping, whatever word you want to use. What does that look like when it comes to actually getting people to say, okay, I'm going to stop on this. It caught my interest, and then I'm going to click on the link in the bio and go somewhere else. In your opinion, what does that look like? And it doesn't necessarily
Yeah,
have to be your feed. It could be stories too, by the way.
right. And this is something where, every account is different. And I can sit here and give you thousands of examples of what works, but until you test it and know what works for your audience and what kind of, content works, you know, everything is great in theory until you start practicing it. So a couple things to think about is that you do need to make sure that your content is standing out in the feed, regardless of whether or not there's a call to action. The way the Instagram algorithm works is the more somebody interacts with your content, the more they will see your content. Instagram is not a popularity contest. So even if everybody else loves the content and you don't typically interact with it, the content won't rank any higher in your feed. So as a brand, you want to make sure your content is high quality and is something that stands out in the feed. We want things like either a bold color, a great isolated image, a clear focal point, things that really capture somebody's attention when they're scrolling to, kind of like, Kim, you were just saying, like slow the scroll, like just enough to get their attention and go, oh, I want to pay more attention to this. Because once they do that, now they're more likely to read the caption, which is truncated at 2 lines. You see the username, and then you see 2 lines, and then you see ... more. So if no one clicks on the ... more, they're not reading your caption. And if they're not reading your caption, they're not going to see your call to action. They're not going to click on your profile. They're not going to click on the link, and they're not going to end up on your website. We need them to read that caption. So we need good scroll stopping content that captures their attention. You need the first sentence of your caption to be high quality. It needs to be like a good blog post title. It needs to be like a good email subject line. It needs to be bold with emojis or capital letters. You need to make a strong statement. You need to ask a big question, something that, again, captures their attention enough to go, I want to know more, where then they click ... more, and then they read the whole caption. Regardless of whether there's a call to action in there, this is pretty much the same across the board for all of your feed content. You really want people to generate those positive actions by stopping, interacting, clicking on the profile, clicking on the caption, anything like that. That's a positive ranking in the algorithm. Now, somewhere in that caption, usually 1 to 3 short paragraphs is the ideal range. If you're going to have the call to action, you want it in there to stand out. We don't want it to, within a random paragraph, just be like, oh, click on the link in the bio. No, we want emojis. We want, stars or fires or something. We want capital letters. Click on the link in the bio. Big, bold, capture their attention, so that when they click on your profile, or your username to get to your profile, they're going to click on the link. They're going to end up on your website. They're going to navigate to where you wanted them to go, and they're more likely to make that conversion. But you have to give them kind of that value add. So for example, let's say I wanted to put, I'm promoting a blog post. I'm not just going to say, hey, a new blog post is up, click the link in my bio. No, I'm going to say, I'm going to do a little bit of an intro. Maybe I'm going to make a bold statement, ask a big question. I'm going to tell them a little bit about what's in the blog post, and I'm going to tell them what they're going to get out of reading that blog post. Are they going to get this takeaway? Are they going to get these 3 tips? Is this going to answer the question that they've always wanted to know? I could put a simple question like, should you put your hashtags in your caption or in a comment? ... I answer this in today's blog post. That's going to get people to go, I'm reading that blog post. I want to know what that answer is. So you need to know what's appealing to your audience to give them the motivation to really want to follow through with that call to action. Same thing if it's promotional content, something like that. Click the link in the bio to take advantage of our 15% discount. Give them a reason to want to do that, and that will generate that traffic for you. Now, on the Instagram story side of things, similarly, people are like, well, I don't have 10,000 followers. I don't have a swipe up link. That's okay. You can still send them to the link in your bio. So let's say you're promoting a blog post. So you can have, a quick image of the blog post, a quick recap, information about what they're going to get in the blog post, and then say, read it now, click on the link in my bio, or you can even say, click here, and put like a text box or a sticker or something like that that has here. And then behind that, you put your own username. So I would put at JENNS_trends. I'd shrink it down to fit behind that sticker. And when I say click here, when they click on that, they're actually clicking on my username, which is hidden behind that sticker, but it's still hyperlinked, it's still there. And now when they click on that, boom, they're on my profile, and there's the link in the bio. They can click on that and again, navigate just like they would anywhere else.
Yeah. So that was a great ninja trick. I've taught that one myself for those that are using stories to try to drive traffic to your bios. Great ninja trick. That's a great trick too if you don't have the swipe up feature, right? Where you can't get them to swipe up to go to a link, then you can use that little trick that Jenn just shared with you to actually drive them. When they click, they go to your profile, which then they can open up your one link inside of your bio. So let me ask you this. Like, I've seen a lot of people who are using what I would call mini blog posts in their captions, meaning it's a lot of copy. What's your take on that? Is that more okay? That's okay. I'm curious about this because does it work better than like one-liners or just a bit of short copy? What works?
And so again, this is one of these things you need to test, and you need to know your audience. In general, long captions are not a good idea. It is not something I recommend for most businesses and brands on Instagram. Most people are not there to read a short novel or a even short blog post. So typically not ideal to write long captions. On average, that kind of 1 to 3 short paragraphs, usually about 70 to 120 words is the ideal range. And when I say a paragraph, like a sentence could be a paragraph. So typically something in a kind of short range, is ideal. People expect captions now on Instagram. They expect to read something. They want the context of that image. They're used to seeing calls to action. They're used to having some sort of storytelling component mixed in with whatever image or video captured their attention. So you definitely want a caption. And I'm not a big fan of like the little one-liners or, something super simple. We want to kind of take that story, take that dialogue a little bit further and use the captions to convey that. I also say captions are where you make conversions, and you can't do that with a call to action and the storytelling and link in bio recommendation if you're only doing a one-liner. So you definitely want to have some, consistent length to your captions. Now, that being said, you can do up to 2,200 characters, not words, 2,200 characters. And when you max it out, you can't type anymore. So you've hit the max. I am guilty of hitting that max more than one time. But I have conditioned my audience, and my audience has learned from me that I've used Instagram as a microblog for things like Instagram news and updates. So they follow me on Instagram, and once every couple of months, I do a big recap of updates. And I'm like, okay, here's all the updates we've had in the last 2 months. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I list them all out and with a little bit of information on each one. And that is a long post. Now, those also get a ton of engagement for me. Those get a ton of saves, a ton of shares. Those are some of my highest performing content because that's what my audience wants. They're following me for news and updates on Instagram, and it's highly valuable information that they can use, that they can share with their friends, share to their stories, and that's my highest performing content. But that's not conversion driving content. That's not getting me, people reading my blog. That's not getting people, calling me to hire me. So it's high, engagement. It's high reward in one way. But if I wanted to drive conversions, I wouldn't use that sort of caption. I wouldn't use that sort of content if I was looking to get people to my website. So you have to know what you want out of your different types of content and figure out what sorts of captions are going to work best. I actually recommend if you go into your Instagram profile, again, when you are a business account, and you go to your insights, so go to the 3-line button, go to insights, and then you go to the content tab. And when you hit see posts, you can hit see all. Now you can actually sort that content for what drives clicks, what drives website traffic, what drives engagement, what drives likes, what drives follows. There's all these different metrics that you can sort on your insights. And that will tell you what is working. So if I want to drive conversions, I know a certain type of content works better for me than if I want engagement. But I've learned that because by looking at my insights, and you can sort that content for up to 2 years, just so you know, when you're doing that search, you can search for up to 2 years worth of content, and it will tell you what is your best performing engagement content. What's your best performing website traffic content? What's your best performing, email clicks content? So if you want to know what's working, go look at that and see what types of captions have you been writing, what types of visual content have you been creating, and then you can use that to better figure out that strategy so you have different content and different captions for the different end goals that you're looking for with each piece of content.
I love that answer. So as I'm going to ask you one last question while we're picking winners for today's giveaways. Hopefully there's like lots of ahas because I've had so many ahas.
Lots of ahas out there.
Yeah. So we got ring light winner is Joy. So Joy, if you will just up in the corner, I guess actually up in their left hand, if you're facing it, there you go. Thanks for putting this on the screen for me. There's a little send message up there. If you guys will send, Joy, if you'll send us a message with your mailing address, we'll get that out in the mail to you. And let's see who next winner. We're picking them as we go. I can tell. But while we're while we're doing that, so webcam winner is Barbara James. Barbara, same. If you'll just send us a message with your mailing address, we'll get it out to you. Jenn's book, guys, we're going to get you the latest book. What's the title again, Jenn? You probably have it. Okay, there you go. Instagram. I love it.
Instagram for dummies. And there was the question about stories. Half of this book is dedicated to Instagram stories. So half the book is the feed, half the book is stories. So if you have questions about stories, that is a huge resource for that sort of information.
Yes. So if you didn't win, guys, but you're still interested in Jenn's book, you can probably just go to Amazon and
yep, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and major retailer.
Yep. Perfect. And then again, the person who won just Jenn's book, send me your mailing address so I can get it in the mail to you. And then Easil winners, Brenda Scott, Suzanne Morris, golly, I'm not sure. I don't want to butcher it. So Suzanne, I will not say your last name. And then Virginia Purnell, if you guys will just send us your email address, then we can get you a 3 months of Easil.com. We'll get you guys set up for that. So Jenn, I have one last question for you. And then I want you to tell everybody where they can connect with you and find out more about you and that kind of stuff. When it comes to actually converting leads on Instagram, have you found that you have more success using stories or your feed content?
So again, this is the inevitable test. There's no good answer out there until you know your audience. And I've actually run this test multiple times with my best friend, who is Amanda Robinson. She's at The Digital Gal on Instagram, and she's actually a Facebook ads expert, because all my friends, as Kim knows, we're all friends in the same industry. But she has a much smaller audience on Instagram than I do. So I have, close to 23,000 followers. She has like 2,000 followers. And we've run this test where we will put the exact same content out at the exact same time, especially in stories. And so she posts it, and then I literally share it like 2 seconds later, I share it to my story, same stickers, same clicks, everything. And she always gets like 10 times the views and engagement on her stories than I do. And again, that's like 10 times just straight numbers. That's not per capita based on like fluctuation for the difference in our audience sizes. So she will get, 1,000 views on a story, and I get like 200 views on a story. And her audience has been basically conditioned to watch her stories. She creates a ton of story content. She creates a ton of value there. So when she posts a story, people pay attention. I don't use a lot of stories, and I don't create a lot of educational content in my stories. So people don't go there for that type of content. They come to me in the feed. So for me, I get way more conversions out of the feed than I do out of stories, but Amanda gets way more conversions out of stories than she gets out of the feed because of how our audiences interact with our content. So if you're not yet using stories regularly, you're probably not going to get a ton of conversions using stories. You would have to look, again, strategically at how you can create content there. And if you want to build up that level of interaction, you want to give yourself 4 to 6 weeks of consistent content in stories to really see how your audience is interacting with it, how they're converting from it, how they're, responding to it, positive or negative. And same thing, if you're not regularly using the feed all that often, maybe you want to either up your content there or at least your calls to action there. Give it some time. Don't make every single thing a call to action post. And, don't just try it once or twice and be like, oh no, it's not working for me, and kind of throw it out the window. You really have to give yourself the time to test this out with your audience and run those campaigns. Run a campaign and say, okay, we promoted this on stories and we used, we got this kind of result. We promoted this on feed, we got this kind of results. Then do it again and again. And until you really get to see what works for you, you won't know that answer. But in general, I will say stories are better for conversions. People watch more stories than they usually watch the feed these days. Stories have higher ad recall. And when I say that, it's not just as an ad, but as any story, people recall that content better than they actually recall content from the feed. So people are scrolling through the feed. It's a different way that the brain interacts with that content versus the stories. It's a bit more of an active way of interacting, and because it's so quick and the way the content is generated, it absorbs in your brain differently. So in general, you will get better results from stories in that kind of content. But again, test until you see what works for your audience.
Yeah, and one of the things I really want to highlight, consistency is always the key when it comes to social media. But I think consistency with a defined timeline too is also important. You can't just say, okay, well, I tried that 3 times and it didn't work. That's not, that's not really consistency. You really have to, like Jenn said, dedicate 6 to 8 weeks to something and then evaluate did what worked, what didn't, before you throw it out with the bathwater, because I think the consistency piece does require some commitment. When I say commitment, if you're going to go after stories, you have to do them daily, right? I mean, that's the other issue. And like Jenn, I am not I'm not proficient with my stories on Instagram. I'm hit or miss at best. I can't even say that I do them well at all. So whatever feels right for you, stories may not be your jam. It doesn't mean you can't win with Instagram. You just, again, it goes back to conditioning your community for whatever types of content you are going to be creating consistently. And then again, moving people to your bio so they can click and go, and that's where the conversions actually happen. So Jenn, thank you so much for being here and sharing your genius with me and all of my amazing folks here that are with us. Where can people find you if they want to connect with you more fully?
Yeah, so I'm pretty much everywhere online as Jenn's Trends. It's JENNS because I was born in the 80s with a bazillion other Jennifers, so I've always been 2N Jenn. But jenstrends.com is the website. That'll take you to pretty much everything. Jens_trends on Instagram and Twitter. And if you want to hang out with me in my Facebook group, go to Facebook and search Jenn's Trends in social media. You'll find the group. That's where I share all breaking news related to Instagram. So if new features and functions come out, we talk about it in the Facebook group first, and then I go and talk about it on Instagram, because we all like to test it out and figure out how it's working and what the nuances are before we make a big deal about it. But we talk about that in the Facebook group, so you can be on the front lines of what's going on if you join us there.
I love it, love it, love it. So guys, definitely connect with Jenn. She is amazing on so many levels, and you will always know where she stand with her. She doesn't pull no punches, and she occasionally will totally right a wrong if she thinks it is like somebody else is giving some expert advice. It's really not so expert. So I love that about her. She just keeps it real, and that's, again, I just love people who do that. So definitely connect with her, and hopefully you've gotten immense value from her amazing knowledge today. We did try to keep it succinct and really keyed in on the lead gen piece of this. So hopefully you guys got some great nuggets and you can go forward in some good things with what you learned. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Take care. Stay safe.